Act 3 of Medea. Um, so we finally get Jason. And it's Jason who's just like, could you just go away? Can we pay you to go away? Um, Jason who does admit basically, yeah, if I kind of cut myself from off from you, then I'm not guilty anymore. But if I am cut with you, I am. It's like he really comes off as opportunistic, as somebody who's like, I'm gonna just I've used this woman to get where I wanted to be, and now you're a liability, so I'm gonna cut you off. She asks him, well, can you let me have the children then? Because you're gonna have you have a new wife, you'll have new kids. You don't need these can be my children. He says like, oh no, no, I could never let them go. I love them too much. Which Medea's like, really? Well, then I know how I'm going to strike you. What will hurt you the most? What will be like me chopping off limbs will be the kids. So we very much get this in this. Um, it's one of these things of like, she goes through and she kind of lists off like, these are all the things I've done for you. I helped you do the trials to get the fleece. I sacrificed my own brother, chopped him up for our escape. I I killed your evil uncle, or by changing him into a young, and that thus his daughters killed him. It's like I did all these things, and you're still gonna just make me walk away. And I mean, she does take the nurse's advice. The nurse who said like, you know, if you show all your hate, you're not going to be able to strike well. And so she does say, it's like, well, yeah, just let me have time with the kids, and then I will go. Fine. And it's like, and then now I will enact my vengeance, and it's limitless vengeance. And there's this idea of like, when you have a when you're doing revenge, the revenge will far outstrip the crime that was committed in the first place. And I guess this would be the casting aside. I mean, she talks about how I gave up all my treasures for you. I gave up my kingdom, my virginity, I guess, my honor, my, my family, my little brother that I killed for you. I sacrificed everything for you, and you're going to give it away. And there's just definitely kind of an elemental feel of like, I'm like, this is like, I am the ocean. I am, I am the furies. What you're unleashing here is on yourself is going to be horrific, but it's also maybe just her power. She is definitely, she comes down from the sun god as her as she counts that as one of her ancestors, and you get that sense of, yeah, wow, there's all that raw power which Jason is sort of, as the hero, has ridden, but she's sort of done it all, which is interesting. It's just this all powerful woman, which I guess if you have like maybe a Roman very patriarchal society, like, that kind of a woman is like, I think of Glenn Close and how scary she was presented as a kind of a feminist nightmare monster of like, oh, you took up with her, and then now you've unleashed the furies. It's like, well, this is it, quadruple time of, you've taken up with Medea, you've used her, and now you're trying to jump off of this wanton abomination, it seems. You're trying to like cast her aside. Well, it's like, well, that ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen. So yeah, that's Act 3 of Medea. I'm really enjoying it. Really enjoying the language, the speeches. It is not like a interchange back and forth, but it does kind of put me in mind of kind of a Shakespearean thing in that way, and just the sort of thing of it's interesting, like, does someone like Jason, if he stays with Medea, he will be guilty. Like, he's screwed that way, and he says he's doing it for his boys, that he's casting her aside. That's the only way he's going to be able to continue to live in this society is if he casts her aside. But when he casts her aside, he's going to lose those boys. But he's sort of deluded himself into thinking he can somehow get out of this. So there's that dilemma, an aspect, that inescapable aspect you feel coming from this story, that is sort of maybe a hallmark of tragedy, of nobody gets out of here alive kind of feel, uh, to the work, to the brutal, inevitable, cold, hard facts of life, that 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 from life comes death, always, as a part of nature. Hmm. So yeah, that's what I have today for Medea, and I will continue on. The choruses are more of kind of like thematic chiming ins, kind of taken from it's the Corinth people, who are definitely not sympathetic to Medea. They view her harshly from the outside, have a lot of what seem like kind of stoic bromides. Like, this might be the part that Seneca is like, this is my prescriptive things from there, but I'm not finding them very persuasive. There's something about, like, oh, we should govern by reason but not by passion, which, at least to my modern ear, sounds fairly hollow, fairly trite, of like, you should just try and be reasonable. It's like, okay, yeah, how well has that worked in history? Uh, just trying to be reasonable. Um, yeah, yeah, though, yeah, so there's a part of me that rankles against that, as much as, you try and be a reasonable, rational person in your life, but how often the passions overtake, or the appetites overtake, or unconscious. See, this is getting into the psychological, which is definitely very post Medea, of the 15 CE, writing of, or wherever, 50 CE writing of, or whenever it was around this time. So yeah, yeah. So there's the modern take, and then there's like, oh, what would Seneca be thinking about this as a Stoic philosopher, and the idea that emotions are always the wrong way to order your life. It should always be reason. All right, I will leave it there. More videos later.